How's it going, guys? Matt Coop here, aka MODC Architecture, and welcome back to another video. Now today what I'm going to be talking to you about is those drawings you absolutely need in your portfolio. The drawings which will help you communicate your design portfolio properly to your tutors, to the jurors or critics, and then finally in the final submission so you can get the best mark possible. So those drawings you definitely need. Number one, you need site analysis. So firstly, you need your site selection drawing. Secondly, you need your historical research drawing. Thirdly, you need your context drawing. And then fourth and finally, you need to bring a concept to that site. Then you need to go on to researching into your concept. So for me, in my current project, my current concept is a theme park which has entertainment facilities and is geared towards educating people about sustainability. Now those research pages can be in any number of pages, can be 20-30 pages like it is in my case. Actually in my case it's probably more like 40 pages, or it can be 10 pages. It doesn't matter as long as you communicate that you have researched your concept and you've justified why you've chosen it. That's the important thing here. Justification is absolutely necessary. So after you've done your research, you're going to have to start producing some iterations or some concept diagrams as to how you want your program to go together. So for me, I've created I think 5 or 6 concept program drawings which show my programmatic elements intertwining with each other. And from these concept drawings you're going to want to be critical, so you need some critical analysis drawings, or at least you need to be able to speak about your critical analysis when you present your portfolio. Then we get on to the iterations. The iterations are absolutely necessary for your design development. So you've gone through the concept, you're now designing, so you need an iteration drawing, then you need a critical drawing after, and you need sketch drawings. So iteration, critical, sketch. So 3 types of drawings, and that may be for 7 or 8 iterations, just to give you an idea of how developed your project should be. Then from those iterations you've got your sort of semi-final drawings, I'd say, your kind of your penultimate sections before you refine those finite details, those things that will really pull the project together. Then you've got your final drawings, and in your final drawings you absolutely have to have final plans, final sections, final elevations and atmospheric drawings which communicate how a person would look using your building. Just as a side note, you could potentially have some model photographs as well. That's not quite viable for us at the moment because obviously coronavirus means that none of us can go in and start making models. However, model photography is definitely a valid page to have and is necessary in your normal portfolio in your average year. So those are all the portfolios. Now let's go into a little bit of depth into why you need to do site analysis, why you need to do your research, why you need to do your concept diagramming, and why you need to do your iterative progression. And then obviously you know why you need to do your final drawings, because you need to culminate your entire body of research, but we'll cover that after the 4 previous topics. So number 1, your site research. The site gives you context. Doing your site selection obviously vitally important to give your building sort of identity, to give your program an identity. Site historical research is important so you can make any historical references in your building to the site's past. Often quite a nice thing to do in your project, especially if you're on a site like I am, which is Battersea Power Station. And then you've got your contextual research. So your contextual research is very sort of is a bit more widespread. It's around your site, and it makes sure you look at the programmatic sort of variation around your site so that you can then decide whether that site is correct for what design or what building you want to do and what program you want to have. So for me, I'm in the Nine Elms area and then my site is Battersea Power Station. I noticed there is minimal entertainment in the Nine Elms region. There's shop markets, there's this, that and the other. However, there's no entertainment. So I thought, okay, well I want to do a theme park, so let's put a theme park in Nine Elms. Let's use that as a bit of development. Just as a side note, it's generally good to have a sort of programmatic interconnection or 2 programs that don't go together, and try and make them go together, try and make them work. I saw a precedent, I think a design project from an Iranian student, or to be in Iran, was a water park and data mining facility. So the water would cool the computers, but it's just 2 polar opposite programs, and he's brought them together. And I'm bringing theme parks, which are notoriously very power consuming, along with sustainable power sort of plant, I suppose. So I'm bringing two programs which kind of relate together, but they don't go together, I suppose. So yeah, make sure you do that in your building. Anyway, so we're now on to our research, your concept research. So you need to make sure that you do extensive research into your program, into your potentially forms of circulation, but the atmosphere that you want to create in your building. You need to make sure that you can nail down these concepts and nail down what you want to achieve in your building, so that you can then pinpoint your research and you can present those on research pages and various logbooks that I would recommend you do. I'd recommend you keep a log of all your research that you do, and also references. Make sure you reference everything that you look at, because if you do that, then trust me, your life at the end of the term is going to be so much easier. So now on to your sort of concept diagrams, your programmatic diagrams. You just got to make sure everything works together. This can be done actually in either a drawing format or a modelling format. These are important because you need to make sure that you're communicating how you envisage this program working together, and the tutors and the crits and stuff can play off that, because they can see your thought process. All of this presentation is so that you can communicate what you're thinking, and then the tutors can know sort of how best to direct you. Then obviously comes our iterations. Our iterations are super important for the development of your design, because if you went with your first iteration as your design development, your project won't be very good. It's the case for anyone and everyone. It's just, it would be silly to go with your first iteration in a design project. So you do iteration 1, you then critically analyse that iteration with your tutors, and then you make a drawing of that critical analysis, so that then at the end of the year you can, in your final portfolio, whoever's marking it can see that you've got that critical eye, that you've analysed why the iteration perhaps didn't go so well, and then you can build on it in your next iteration. And then obviously you sketch over the top of your first iteration for your second iteration, and the process repeats itself 7 or 8 times. Now, it's a long process, don't get me wrong, and it's one that seems tedious, but trust me, at the end of the day, when you make that breakthrough, probably in your 4th or 5th iteration, that really propels your project forward, it's just amazing, it's brilliant. And then that will really elevate your project, because the marker of your portfolio at the end of the year will see that progression and will see you developing as an architect. So then we're on to our penultimate drawings, and these really are just placeholders, and they're really just they're important to have, because they can communicate your final ideas, and then you can see these little mishaps, little mistakes that perhaps shouldn't be there. So then that's when you refine it again and again, so then you go on to make your final model, let's say. So that brings us on to our final stuff, our final drawings, our final plans, final elevations, final sections, and final sort of atmospheric drawings. These are so important to have because they cap off your entire project. They show what work you've done, and they show a sort of culmination of either 2 terms or 3 terms of work, and you want to make sure that's the best you can. If you make that incredible, then that will really help elevate your project up to that first that you want. This video is all about those drawings you need to get a first. Make sure you have these drawings. So what you're looking to do in a final section is you're looking to have detailing in the walls, the roofs, the floors, and you're looking to have occupation as well with people. You're looking to have materiality with your walls, etc. You're looking to have the atmosphere as well. So what sort of is going to be inside in terms of lighting, etc. And then you could go into a tech drawing where you look at how the lighting, what the heat energy is going to be like, how the drainage works off the roofs, etc. How it's ventilated, all of these different things which you can bring into a section really nicely. Similarly, in plan, you want to have occupation, you want to have a bit of materiality, but not so much that it takes over from the plan, and obviously you want details in those walls as well. In terms of section and plan cuts, you want to have sort of, I'd say, 2 section cuts, one north to south, one east to west, or sort of perpendicular to your building's facades, whatever works best. And then at your plan, you want, if you're building a tower, you want plans on significant floors, whereas if you're doing like a 3 or 4 story building, you'll want plans on every floor, cut typically at 1 meter above the floor height. In terms of your elevations, what you're mainly looking for is occupation and materiality. They're big, especially with the atmosphere of sort of the sky, etc., and some cars driving by maybe. Just something really nice to polish off the design, to really set in stone the concept. Your final axos as well, I forgot to mention you need your axo. You need an axometric shot, just looking down at your building, and again just showing occupation, showing atmosphere, just showing a different viewpoint of your design so that you can communicate fully how that building looks in its final form. And then you want your atmospheric drawings, which mainly are there to show, again, atmosphere and occupation. There's a lot of that sort of stuff, but it's all this fun stuff that you get to do graphically after you've put in 30, 40, 50 hours of modelling and drawing work. And it's just a nice thing to top it off, and just to really boast how good your design looks, what the materials are, etc. You're always looking for materiality in all these drawings. Yeah, it takes a lot of time, don't get me wrong, but it's so worth it at the end. And that's it! I say that's it. It's taken me probably, what, like 14, 15 minutes to go through all of them and explain them. And I would say within that you've got, what, like 30-page, 40-page portfolio, so, you know, it builds up pretty quick, but you need to produce at least a 40-page, 50-page portfolio, I'd imagine, to get that first. Yeah, I'm currently on like 105 drawings. A ridiculous amount of drawing needs to go into your architecture work in order to get that curated portfolio at the end. What you want to be able to do is convey an idea throughout this portfolio, and you want to show that you're critically minded and that you can sort of design well. You can be an architect, basically, because an architect, you need to be a specialist at, you don't have to be a specialist at anything, you just need to know a little bit of everything. That's the big thing about architecture. Jack of all trades, master of none, that kind of thing. Even though it would be pretty good at all the trades, but yeah. Yeah, so that's about it for today's video, everyone. Please do leave a like if you enjoyed. I would really appreciate it, and hit that subscribe button if you're new around here. I know around 50%, 60, even 70% of people who watch my videos, granted there are limited numbers at the moment, aren't subscribed, so if you could subscribe, that would mean so much to me. And hit that notification bell so that you know when I upload as well. But yeah, that's about it from me today, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and see ya!